Good day everyone, and welcome to our Excel lesson in Module 5. We're going to take that information from our training and from the textbook and apply that here in this sample project. So I hope you don't mind this demonstration. I hope it helps reinforce some of the concepts you're going to look at when you go to look at your book and do your training, or if you've already done that, this will be a reinforcement of those concepts that you've already practiced. Alright, so our backstory here is, Min-Ji Woo is an artist who makes their living selling artwork at art fairs around the Midwest. Min-Ji is using an Excel workbook with multiple workbooks or worksheets, as you can see here, to summarize the sale of her artwork by each fair location. Well, Min-Ji's asked for our help in completing the sales information for this year. We're going to break this external link in the worksheet so that the formula is in the range of here in B3 through B6. We're going to break these so that all we see here are the static values. We just want to see basic text. We don't want to see any type of hyperlink. You see if I hover over this, it gives me a hyperlink. If I click on this, that's where it's going to go. Well, we want to get rid of that. Now we can tell we have this hyperlink here in cell B5, and where it's pointing to, I'm going to break this connection. So I'm just going to go ahead and unlink this text. So I'm going to right click on that and I'm going to remove the hyperlink. Now I just have static text in here, and when I click on there, I'm not going to be redirected anywhere. Let's take a look at cell D4 here, where we don't have any information. And let's go ahead and put in a hyperlink to an email address. So different ways you can do this. As I just showed you, we can use the right click and we have some hyperlink options there. Or the Microsoft preferred way is to go to our insert tab, because we're going to insert a hyperlink. Go to the link group here, and there's the link. Now we get our link hyperlink or insert hyperlink dialog box, and we can put in some information here. So the text we want to display is that we're going to info at gateway.example.com. That's the link or the hypertext or the text that we're actually going to see that's going to be displayed. So just like you see here, info at, that's what we're going to have here. Now the address is where we want the redirect to go to, or where the address is that we want to use. And for here, we're going to use info at gateway. I'm sure you see where this is going. .example.com. Now we also want to have a screen tip that is going to be used as well. And we just want to say, if they hover over this, contact the gateway art fair organizers. There we go, got it that time. I'll hit OK. I'll hit OK, and we can see what our work's done. So we see exactly what we thought. This is what we want to be displayed, the text to display. And then we hover over that. We don't know where it's going, but we can see that there's a tip saying, hey, if we click on this, we're going to contact the Gateway Art Fair organizers. Alright, so we've done that. Let's go to cell B10 here. Let's create another hyperlink. We're going to create this to a document. And this is a document that we have currently stored on our computer. And typically what I prefer to do is when I know that I'm working on a project for a client, then I like to keep all files in a folder for that client. So for this, we have the folder for this and the file that we're wanting to reference there. That way it's easy to locate. So let's see, we've got the space here. Let's just go ahead and use this. And we're going to create a hyperlink here. So same thing, we're going to go into our insert tab, link group, this link object, and we're going to point where we want to see this at. And the file we're going to use is this Word document here. This is our descriptions of the 4 art fairs. You can see I selected it. I've got some information now. The text we want to display, we actually want to change this, and we're going to say, we'll just call this Art Fair Descriptions. No one needs to know that that's coming from Microsoft Word document. So Art Fair Descriptions is the text we want to be displayed. We'll give it a screen tip as well. We don't need to worry about this because we're already pointing to the file in this folder. So our screen tip is going to say these are descriptions of the 4 art fairs. That way when we or someone else that uses this will know exactly what this was created for. I'll hit OK. And there we go. The text to be displayed was what we created, Art Fair Descriptions. When we hover over it, we see our screen tip, descriptions of the 4 art fairs. And that's exactly what we wanted to do. Because we don't really care where it's going or what the hyperlink is. We just want to know that we have a hyperlink and we have a description of what it is. So that makes it more useful information for us. Now here we have emails. Well, we have a header here that tells us that's email. So it makes sense. But now, if we look at cell B9, that really doesn't make much sense to us. So let's edit this. And instead of going to the hyperlinks, since I hover over this, I see the screen tip and I know it's a hyperlink. This time I'm going to right click and then edit the hyperlink. That way I can bring that up much easier. Alright, so let's change this to text to display. Let's put some text in here. This link is really for the online art fair calendar. And we'll give it a screen tip. And our screen tip is just going to say that. Display the calendar of art fairs in the US. That's pretty simple. We'll hit OK. And we'll hit OK. And we see that gets changed to exactly what we're hoping for. And it just makes sense now when we get on this art fairs worksheet. The data just makes sense. Now typically when you're doing a workbook, especially for a customer, it's very important to have consistent formatting throughout the workbook. So, whether it's a theme or if you're using the same type of data tables in there, they all look similar unless you have specific requirements from the customer. Well, Minji wants us to have consistent formatting in our worksheets, and so we're going to group some of these worksheets together and make some changes that when we make it in one worksheet, it's going to apply to the other worksheets that we have selected. We only have to make our changes once. Alright, so let's group some of these together. So I'm going to go to Chicago, and I'm going to hold the Shift key and I'm going to select St. Louis as well as Minneapolis. Now you can see they're grouped together. Now I can ungroup them. I can just right click on them and ungroup. Now since I know these three are all next to each other, the Shift key will select all three. If I want to select them individually, I can or deselect, I can use the Control key. Let's say I click on St. Louis. Now it's not selected, but Chicago and Minneapolis are. Lots of ways you can do this. Alright, so now I've got all three of these selected once again. And let's go ahead and make some changes. Alright, first of all, I'm going to go, let's just go to this merge cell here. And you see that this merge cell is covering from A1 through F1. So I'm going to click on that. Let's change the font size. We're going to change this to a 16. So I'm going to need to go to my Home tab. Change my font size to 16. There we go. Now that's been changed. What else? Let's apply a cell style to this one here, this A2 through F2. So I can just click there. You can see here on the Home tab, the styles group here. I can do a style change. I can do, let's just pick one. 20% accent 1. How about that? 20% access 1, accent 1 right there. You can see how that changes as I select over different ones, but this is the one I want, which makes sense because that color is much more appealing and is consistent with our theme. Now you don't have to do this, but I'll show you. If I click on St. Louis, You can see the data change, so we're on a different one, or Minneapolis. But now we have the same changes. If for I wanted to make this one here on the Chicago one, a yellow color. I click that. Now if I go to St. Louis, that got applied as well. And if I want no fill, the change was made. So we're making some changes, and we're only having to do it in one place. Alright, how about A5 through A8 here in our data table? Alright, so we've got those selected there. Let's bold these, that way they stand out a little bit. That looks good. How about our information here? Let's look at B5 through F9. Alright, we can tell that we're working with dollars and cents. Let's add a accounting number format. I'm going to go here to my number format. I'm going to jump that out so our format cells dialog box pulls up here. I'm going to use accounting as my category. And I want to take this to, let's see, yeah, we'll go ahead and keep this as 2 decimal places, but for our symbol, let's make sure we're using the dollar symbol. Alright, so that's consistent. Now let's resize the column, B through F here. And we're going to change this to a 14. And different ways we can do this. I'm going to come up here to the Home tab, Cells Group, Format. And you can see I can adjust the column width here. We're going to set this to 14. So column width. Change that to 14. Hit OK. And we see how that widens a little bit. Alright, so we've got that done. And all of these worksheets are still grouped. Let's go to cell A8. See, we have marble here. Let's go ahead and change this. Let's change this from marble to stone. That way it's not particular. Alright, so now we've got stone. A9, instead of total, let's call this total sales. I'm going to hit F2 on my keyboard and just add the word on there. So space sales. I'll hit enter, and as you can see, it gets applied to all 3 of these. Alright, well, it looks like we still got some room for improvement here. Let's go to cell B9 here. Total sales. Well, we would like to know the sum of our sales, so let's go ahead and use the sum function to create a formula here that totals all of our sales for Q1. So I can go up here and I can hit sum. That's exactly what I want. I'm going to hit enter. And does it make sense? Let's see, 600, 500, that's 1100, and another 1200. We're looking at close and some change, so that makes sense. We're over 2000, about 2500. That makes sense. Well, now that we do that, let's copy this formula all the way across, so all 4 quarters are covered. We click on our other sheets, and we see that that formula was created in all 3, and we only had to do the work one single time. Well, I think we're done with these, so let's ungroup them. So I'm just going to right click on any of these and ungroup the worksheets. Now I can work in them individually if I need. Alright, another of our customer requirements from Minji is that she wants to create a copy of the formatted Minneapolis worksheet and use it for sales data from our upcoming Madison Art Fair. So we're going to create a copy of this worksheet. We're going to put it between Minneapolis and combined. And then we're going to update it. So let's go ahead and make a copy of this. So I'm going to just click on Minneapolis to make it our active worksheet. I'm going to right click. I'm going to move or copy. Well, I'm going to create a copy. And I want it before the combined sales worksheet. I hit OK. The magic happens, and there it is. Well, we don't need a title of Minneapolis 2 because we said this is going to be for the Madison Art Fair. So let's change the name of this. You can right click it, or you can double click it, whatever way you want to do it, or you can go to Format Cells. I'm just going to double click it, and I'm going to title Madison. Alright, so I'm done with that. Up here in A2, well, we're no longer in Minneapolis, so we want it to be Madison. So go up here and edit that. I just double clicked on it. Now it's Madison 2021. I can hit enter. Now that's changed, and You can see that it did not make that change to Minneapolis because we are not grouped together. Alright, let's clear the contents for this one because we don't have the data yet, and we're going to clear that so we are working with blank data. So from B5 to E8, I'm only going to clear the contents, not the formatting. That's a big difference. So up here on my Home tab, I'm going to come over to the editing group and I'm going to clear the content. So drop this clear down and I'm only going to clear the contents. That way all my formatting stays there. And I've made a lot of changes, so I'm going to hit save. Now, Minji also wants us to combine all this data that we have into the combined sales worksheet. That way all the information gets automatically pulled over here and the calculations are done in one spot. So let's go ahead and make some changes here. So we're going to go to cell A5 here, and we're going to enter a formula without using any of those built-in Excel functions that references cell A5 here in our Madison worksheet. Well, that's not hard to do. We know if Excel wants to do a formula, we have to tell it, hey, equals. And then I said I want cell A5 for the Madison sheet, so I just come to Madison, click A5, hit enter, and you can see before I even hit enter, it says this should equal the content that's in cell A5 of the Madison worksheet. Hit enter, and there it is. Now let's copy this formula down, and we don't want to copy any formatting. So I'm just going to pull it down, use my autofill options, fill without formatting. There we go. Now you can see that we have our every other color for our row, where if we wouldn't have done that, it would have copied this gray backfill all the way down. Okay, we'll go to cell B5 here. Now let's enter our formula here using our sum function and 3D references and group worksheets that totals the values from cell B5 in all three of our other worksheets, Chicago through Madison. So all four of our worksheets. Go ahead and do that, and we can just go ahead and create that now. We're going to use our sum function, equal sum, and we can say that we want B5 in all of these. Now, while there's multiple ways of doing this, we can do this manually, or we can type it in all the way. I like to do manual half of it and clicking on the rest, and I'll show you why. So with this one, because we know we want all of our data from Chicago through Madison, those are all side by side, using our shift key to select all of those will make it a few less steps, and we don't have to really give much thought to it. So we're going to go equals, and then we're going to click on Chicago. You can see how that, sorry, we're going to put sum. We are using a sum function because we do want to add all of these. Sum, all right, we know we need a left parenthesis there for our formula. Now we're ready for our parameters. So I'm going to click on Chicago, click in cell, and now I'm going to hold my shift key, select Madison. You can see how this changes here. Now I'm saying sum everything from these worksheets, Chicago, and you see my colon here, through Madison. Now I'm going to click on the B5 here, and I can hit enter, or I can close my formula and hit enter. Now I have the value. Does it make sense when we look at our formula? Alright, so we're looking at just under 2,000. So if I go over here, 612, another 600, we're at 1,200. We're looking at what, 17 to 1,800, and that's what we have because we have no values in Madison. Looks like it works out. Now that we have this, and we use our 3D referencing here by grouping these worksheets, so we have exactly what we need. Well, we can easily combine these and copy this formula. and save ourselves a lot of time. So let's use our autofill options here. We don't want to change our formatting of every other row to be in a different color for our backfill. So I'm going to use our autofill options. So drag that down to copy it. Use your autofill options and fill without formatting. Now we can do the same thing. We can copy this range across. We're not going to change our, since we're going across, we're not going to change our formatting. So you let that go. We can click outside there. Now we have all of our values that have pulled from all of those other worksheets. So whenever we make a change to one of these worksheets, it's going to automatically update our combined sales worksheet. That way, it's very smooth transition. If we go to, or if the customer wants to use this next year, they can easily copy this workbook, give it the new name, come in, clear the data, the contents from those other worksheets, make changes to like the year, and they're good to go. They're ready to then start without having to worry about any new formatting and setting everything up again. This is done and it's ready to go, and this can be used every year. So after Minji goes to this Madison Fair, comes back, she puts her data in, it will automatically populate here. So this is looking really good. Well, Minji had created or started to create some name ranges in this workbook, and she's asked us to complete the work that she started. So let's create a defined name range for this range here, B5 through E5. And this is our ceramics information, B5 through E5. So let's go ahead and create that as a name range. And remember, name ranges are found in kind of an odd place. They're on the Formulas tab here. So we go to Formulas. We see we have a Define Names group. We can define a name here, define name, or we can go to our Name Manager where we can see the work that Minji has already put into this workbook on creating these names. And we have these names because we can use them in formulas. We can just reference the name, the defined name, rather than going through and selecting the data. So let's go ahead and create that name now. And you can see we can go to New here. That's where we're creating a new name. Now if we cancel that, we close this, and we come back up here and we hit Define Name, exact same box. Alright, so let's go ahead and create that work. Now we're going to call this Ceramics because that's what we're working with here. And let's go ahead and we said we're going to use B5 through E4 or E5. There it says combined sales B6 through E5. We've created our name range that we can use now. Once we hit OK, we go to Name Manager, and there's what we created. We can click on that. We can see what information it's using. If we needed to edit, we can edit it and make changes there. We can change the name of it. We can change the range. Lots we can do there, but now we have added a new name range. We've defined a name group that we can use when we're using formulas. Well, since we did one for ceramic, we might as well do one for fiber, glass, and stone. So let's go ahead and create those now. Next one's going to be fiber. And I want that to be B6 through E6. Just going to open this up and keep working in there. So we see fibers here. B5 through E5 with ceramics, fiber. So we know our next one's going to be glass, and it's going to be C6 through E6. Sorry, B7 through E7, so we're just changing rows. So go ahead and add some new ones. Let's have one for glass. Select my data. Done. Add my next one for stone. Select my data. E8 through F8, or A8. B8 through E8, enter, and now I have all those name ranges. And you can see that Minji has created some here, and let's look at this Q1 sales. Q1 sales says that it's the combined sales information. So combined sales is the worksheet, and it's the data B5 through B8. So if I look at B5 through B8, hey, that's what we use in our formula. So let's change our formula to use combined sales, define name that we created for combined sales worksheet, Q1 sales. So let's use that in our formula rather than having the formula that's there. So we can see that we did this here. We can also change that. We can change that to our defined name. So if I want to edit this, I can hit F2. I can change this. I can use Q1. You can see I typed in a Q. Here it pops up right away. I can hit Tab, and I can hit Enter, and there it is. Same value. Let's see if it works for this. We have 86 here, and I can just type it longhand if I want. Equals sum left parenthesis Q2. Hit Tab. It's in there. Hit Enter. 86. Worked out just like we thought it would. So I might as well finish here with Q3 and Q4. Okay, hit a key here that I did not mean to. There we go. F2. Q4. We're done. So that used some defined names in my formulas, and I didn't have to select everything. It was already built in. I could just keep typing away. So that's a use for defined names. Alright, I said we could edit those as well. So let's come back up here to our name range, and we see we have one here for total sales. We're looking for F8 through A8. There it is, combined sales F8 through A8. Well, we really want that to be called, because we have lots of totals in our workbook, so let's just change the name of this one. And it's actually, let's just change it from total to total sales for 2021, because that's what we're working with here. So I'm just going to change the name. I'm going to edit it, total sales, another underscore, 2021, hit OK. And now it makes much more sense. I'll hit close on this one. It only works in the name manager, so it really hasn't affected anything unless I've used that somewhere. But you can see we have a column here that we haven't used, and that's our data from the previous year. And I've got that stored in another file, and I can reference that other file. And this is why I like to keep all my files in one location, because when I reference it, it's going to be easy to find. So I'm going to go ahead and open up that other file, and we'll be able to link the information, and we can easily jump back and forth. So if I come back and I'm going to open the file, be the one that was created the previous year, so it'll have all the 2020 data in it, and then we'll make some formulas to reference that. So I'm going to enable this so I can use it. I can see that the data is laid out the same way. So I've got these four groups, and I've got values in different quarters. So I can come up here and I can easily jump back and forth. I'm going to go to the View tab. I can switch windows back and forth between the two workbooks. Here's the one we're currently working in. So now that we have the file open, we can create our external references, and we'll do that for each of our categories here for ceramics from 2020, the fiber total from 2020, and so forth. We'll get this completed. Then once we're done with that, we'll put a formula down here in cell G9 to total those, which we can do now, but we'll wait till we get our external references. So if we just put our cursor in there, or make that our active cell, G5, we hit the equal sign. Now we can switch to our other worksheet. hit the total for ceramics there, just click in that, hit enter, and that gets brought over. If we go back to the worksheet, 12,637, that's exactly what we had. And I was just using a shortcut on my keyboard there. Alright, we can do the next one. We're going to link cell G6 to that combined sales worksheet, cell F6 in our other one. So let's go ahead and do that now. Equals, I can switch windows again. I've got the information, hit enter. Same thing for the next two. And you can see the formula says exactly where it's getting its data from. They show me that this is the name of the workbook. We can see that with the .xlsx, the name of the worksheet, and the location. You can see we're using an absolute cell reference there with the dollar signs. So I'm going to hit enter and get that 11,913 transferred over. We've got our 4 external references. Now let's create our formula here to total the values using our sum function. So equals sum. And we're going to select these 4 cells. We can hit enter, or we can end it with our right parenthesis. And there's our value, which makes sense when we look at 25,000 here, 26,000 there, add our change, and we've got 53,621. So we've done a lot in this project, working with, cell referencing, external cell references, lots of formulas, lots of formatting, grouping of our worksheets. We've really did a lot. So I hope you learned a lot in this lesson and that you're able to practice these skills and keep reinforcing them.